moving on to our next game. College game day is in Nashville, folks. And it's there. They're not just there for a concert. They're not just there to enjoy the nightlife or go hang out on the strip, or not the strip, I forget, on Broadway. They're not there for that. They're not there to watch the Titans or the Predators or anything else like that. College game day, the center of the college football world, is focused on Nashville, Tennessee, because the Vanderbilt Commodores are ranked in the top 10. And you might say to yourself, you might have a really old grandparent who's still alive, or a great grandparent who maybe passed away a couple years ago, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, my grandparents, they've experienced so much in life. There's nothing that they've experienced that I haven't experienced. And that's just not a thing. And for the most part, that's true. But Vanderbilt has not been ranked in the top 10 since 1941, which is before my grandparents were born. So the people 2 generations above me have now seen Vanderbilt ranked in the top 10 as many times as I have. If you had an infant, if you gave birth to someone today, they have seen Vanderbilt ranked in the top 10 as many times as your 90-year-old grandparents. That's how crazy this season is. I mean, Vanderbilt's 6-1. They're 6-1, I think, for the first time since like the 1950s. It is unprecedented what they've been able to accomplish. Clark Lee has done such an amazing job. It's flying in Nashville right now. They are just going nuts. And they've got a huge game against Missouri. I'm going to take a quick sip of water before I really get into talking about this one. So, it is eerily similar, these two teams' resumes so far this season. Their one loss is exactly the same. It's to the Alabama Crimson Tide. In my opinion, they both played Alabama relatively similar. I think the score lies a little bit with Vanderbilt. They lost, of course, 30-14, whereas the Missouri Tigers lost 27-24. But in my opinion, Vanderbilt played them a lot closer than 30-14 indicated on the scoreboard. So not only that, they also have a win over South Carolina. Vanderbilt has a win over LSU. Missouri has a win over Auburn. So they've both won the exact same number of SEC games. They were both undefeated in their non-conference, and they both lost to Alabama. So something's got to give, and it's going to this season. One of these two teams is going to take a big step up over the other. And these two teams, again, just one loss in the SEC. So they are very much so in contention to make the SEC championship game. You might say to yourself, there's no way, right? Surely this won't happen. Surely Vanderbilt and Missouri won't make the SEC championship. Well, look at Missouri's schedule. Honestly, it's really not tough at all. If you win this game, it's really not that hard for you to be able to go 10-2. And you might not be able to make the SEC championship game, but at 10-2 in the SEC, you're making the playoffs. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, still has to play at Tennessee and at Texas. Not to mention at home against Auburn. That's not going to be easy, too, for the Commodores. But whoever wins this game catapults themselves not just to be the flashy new SEC team that's in the top 15, but to be a real contender to make the playoffs and make the SEC championship game. So, let's break this game down. First of all, what do we know Missouri's strengths are? Well, numbers would tell us Missouri's strengths are running the football and pass rushing. So let's start with the first one, running the football. Before SEC play really ramped up, Ahmad Hardy had rushed for over 100 yards in every single one of his games. How does Missouri do this? They have really athletic offensive linemen. They run outside zone, wide zone, whatever you want to call it. They get to the outside, and Ahmad Hardy beats you there. And these athletic offensive linemen, too, on sweeps and even just outside zone, as I said before, that's what they want to do. Well, they weren't able to do that against Alabama and Auburn. Against Alabama, in my opinion, it was really kind of just play calling. I mean, Ahmad Hardy had 12 carries for 52 yards. That's not terrible. They just didn't get it to him as much as I think they should have. Against Auburn, kind of the same sort of thing. Ahmad Hardy, the last couple weeks, hasn't gotten the touches that I think he deserves to get and I think he should get. And I think that's a little bit of an issue. So I think that the play calling of Eli Drinkwitz needs to improve here if the Missouri Tigers want to have a lot of success offensively in this football game. I think Vanderbilt is a little vulnerable to the run game. I mean, if we look at what happened against that with Alabama, Alabama had not run the ball well all season going into the Vanderbilt game. Not against Florida State at all. They completely abandoned the run game. Against Wisconsin, their leading rusher was Ty Simpson. Against Georgia, they tried to run the ball, and they did for like 2 yards a carry, but their longest run from a running back was like 6 yards. And then they play against Vanderbilt, and Jam Miller rushes for 138 yards, which is the first time Alabama's had over 100-yard rushers since like 2023. So I look at that and I say, this is maybe pro Missouri. If you actually, if you actually try and you do what you built this team to do, which is run outside zone, I think you'll find success. I think it'll work. So Missouri offensively, I trust them. But if you don't run the ball well, if you get stuck in 3rd and longs, if you're losing in the 4th quarter and you have to throw the ball, in my opinion, Bo Prabula is not a good quarterback. He misses throws. He's lazy in the pocket. He can make plays outside the pocket, sure, but he just doesn't have the fundamentals, the footwork, doesn't have the arm talent, and I just don't think I don't think he's a winning quarterback. So I think if you're Vanderbilt, the way you win defensively in this game is to stop the run game and make Bo Prabula beat you down the field. If Vanderbilt can do that, I think they've won, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Now let's look at the other side of the ball. We said the other strength that Missouri had was their edge rushing. Guys, Zion Young and Damon Wilson, if you haven't watched a Missouri football game yet this year, those dudes get after it. They not only are they talented, not only are they quick, not only are they strong, but they know football. I mean, there's so many times in the Alabama-Missouri game where Damon Wilson clearly just sees something on the line of scrimmage, checks to the sideline, and just knows what Alabama's running and knows what he's supposed to do. I think these two guys, this is the best edge rush tandem, maybe not just in the SEC, but in the country. So that's Missouri's main strength, in my opinion, on defense. So how do you negate that? How do you, as an offense, eliminate the talented edge rushers on the outside? In my opinion, it's to run it right down your throat. It's to take the ball and just completely negate the edge rushers by just going up the middle. And Alabama, I think, did that for a little bit against Missouri, but they didn't do it enough. And that allowed the Tigers to make plays and stay in the ball game. So when I look at what Vanderbilt, of course, their two biggest SEC games so far this year, Alabama on the road and LSU at home. Totally different results for the Commodores. Why? When I look at the Alabama game, I see Vanderbilt handing it off to their running backs 7 times and putting the ball in Diego Pavia's hands for the entire game and hoping that he plays like a Heisman Trophy winner and wins the football game. I think Diego Pavia is awesome. I really do. I loved his post-game interview against LSU. He gave the glory to God, and I love to see that. I think he's a baller. I think he's a great player. I think he has great personality. But I don't think you're going to succeed against Missouri if you put the ball in Diego Pavia's hands and make him make plays. Because the Missouri defensive line is just too good. It is simply too good for that to be the case. So what did Vanderbilt do against LSU? They ran the ball a lot more, and they ran the ball a lot more effectively. And that opened up the entire offense. So if Vanderbilt runs back the Alabama game plan, in my opinion, offensively, they are cooked. They're not going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be playing from 3rd and long. They're going to turn the ball over, and it's not going to work. But if they execute the LSU game plan, which is run the ball up the middle and work off play action, then yes, Vanderbilt will move the ball offensively. So, honestly, very similar game plan situations, I think, from both of these teams. I think whichever team executes the game plan they should more effectively will win this football game, especially early. I think the early part of this game is so important because both of these teams do not want to play from behind. Because if Missouri's playing from behind, you have to rely on Bo Prabula. Very bad. If Vanderbilt plays from behind, you have to rely on Diego Pavia's arm and his passing game. Not as bad as Prabula, but not where you want to be. Vanderbilt doesn't play from behind. That's not what they do. So I think whichever team executes their game plan early, gets out to a lead through the run game, whatever it is, that team will hold on to win this football game. And in my opinion, as much as I love Diego Pavia, as much as I love Vanderbilt, as much as I hate picking against them, I am going with the Missouri Tigers to win this football game because of Ahmad Hardy, because Eli Drinkwitz wakes up play calling wise, and Bo Pribula doesn't make as many mistakes as I think he might. Am I confident in this pick? I am not confident in this pick, but I'm going with the Tigers to win this football game, despite, I think, a good performance from Diego Pavia. And I after his post game interview, I'm scared to do this. Like, I really want to pick Vanderbilt, but I'm going Missouri. Will's going Vanderbilt. Might be wise. I mean, that might be a good pick. So that's our first difference. I've got Missouri. Will's got Vanderbilt. I'm very excited to watch that game, by the way. 2:30 college game day in Vanderbilt. Top 15 matchup between the Tigers and the Thorns. That's what college football is all about in the SEC. I cannot wait to watch this football game.